The Christmas cracker was once RuneScape's most loved item, until it became the centerpiece of the game's underground gambling scene. It triggered one of the largest botting booms in old school RuneScape history, sent prices soaring more than 60-fold, and eventually forced Jagex to nerf the item beyond recognition. This is the story of how RuneScape's most iconic item lost its magic, and the rulebreakers who made it happen. To tell this story, we have to go back to December 24th, 2001. To celebrate Christmas, Jagex decided to drop a brand new item all over Falador Park called Christmas crackers. Players could pick them up, use them on another player, and both players would receive a reward. One player would get a random item that ranged from a piece of coal all the way up to something valuable, like a rune full helm, while the other player would receive another new item, a party hat of a random color. Players didn't know it yet, but both Christmas crackers and the party hats within them would go on to become some of the rarest and most valuable items in RuneScape history, as after December 24th, Jagex would never spawn more Christmas crackers in RuneScape ever again. These kinds of items are known as holiday items, or more broadly, rares. They're special rewards released only during limited time seasonal events, like Christmas, Halloween, or Easter, and once those events ended, they were never obtainable again. Some, like party hats and Halloween masks, are tradable and quickly turned into a status symbol of wealth. Others, like the Easter ring or yo-yo, are untradeable and serve more as fun souvenirs. Tradable rares were, and still are, the ultimate chase item for many of the game's players. So much so that in RuneScape 3, they've become unaffordable for the vast majority. Old School RuneScape, however, is a much different story. Soon after that version of the game was released, they were affordable. Perhaps too affordable. That low price would open the door to one of the largest botting and gambling explosions the game had ever seen. But first, let's talk about today's sponsor, Huel. To be honest, eating healthy isn't easy when the quick options are usually junk. If I'm too tired to cook, I end up ordering something I probably shouldn't. Huel Black Edition has been my fix for that. It's fast, healthy, and actually keeps me full. It's packed with nutrients, including vitamin C to support your immune system, and vitamin B12 to help reduce tiredness and fatigue, plus the right balance of protein, carbs, essential fats, and fiber to keep you going. Each shake has 40 grams of plant-based protein, over 6 grams of fiber, and 27 essential vitamins and minerals. And my favorite part, Black Edition powder starts at just $2.65 a meal and takes just 30 seconds to prepare. They have a load of flavors to pick from, but my favorite has to be cookies and cream. When you're in a rush, Huel also comes in a ready-to-drink version with the same great nutrition and taste. If you're ready to give it a try, click the link in the description and use code Colonello15 to get 15% off your order. Old School RuneScape was released in February of 2013, and at the time was an exact copy of RuneScape as it was on August 10th, 2007. However, everyone started with a fresh account. This meant that all of the old rares, like Christmas crackers, technically existed in the game's code, but nobody actually had any, and there was no way to obtain them. For a while, Jagex wasn't sure if they would ever release these items into Old School RuneScape, as they struggled to find a way to implement them into the game that would make everyone happy. After a lot of discussion and a few polls, they settled on a few different methods to bring rares back. First, they turned their re-release into a big spectacle. Over the summer and fall of 2013, a new rare item, or a set of rare items, would be released each week. On every world, only one would spawn at a time, randomly chosen from 100 possible locations. As soon as someone found the rare and picked it up, a new one would spawn in a different spot. It was a really cool event, and it unironically saved the game from closing. I actually have a whole video about that, which you'd probably enjoy. During and after this event, rares were, well, rare, and as a result, extremely valuable. But Jagex didn't want these items to eventually become unobtainable, like they are in RuneScape 3. So they decided to re-release them each year during their respective holiday events. The focus of this story is the Christmas cracker, which would return every year as a reward for completing that year's Christmas event. Every player who finished it would receive 2 Christmas crackers, along with 2 of every party hat, 2 Santa hats, and a handful of other untradeable rares. To really drive home the idea that these items weren't meant to be the get-rich schemes they were back in 2001, Jagex also hosted events where moderators would spawn thousands of them on the ground for anyone to pick up, a tradition that actually still continues to this day. As a result, Christmas crackers became more common over the years, but for one big reason, they still remained far more valuable than other tradable rares. Much like opening a pack of Pokemon cards, once you crack a cracker open, there's no way to put it back together, and since they were only available for a few weeks each year, their price followed a predictable pattern. Right before that year's Christmas event, their value would crash, as players anticipated a flood of new crackers entering the game. After the event ended, prices would gradually climb again, until next Christmas when the cycle would repeat. But even during those crashes, crackers could still be sold for anywhere between 15,000 and 30,000 GP, making them one of the most consistently valuable holiday rewards in the game. Players would pick up on this, and many took part in the Christmas event every year simply for the crackers. They're somewhat valuable items that require almost no effort to obtain and felt like free money. Some players started treating them like investments, timing the market to buy low and sell high. But for the average player, it was more like, hey, I can get a solid chunk of GP just for playing the event. Unfortunately, bot farm owners would soon have the same realization and would begin creating scripts for the Christmas event every year. The event each year is incredibly easy to bot, as it never has any prerequisites. So you could sign up for a new account, complete Tutorial Island, and do the event all in under an hour. Every year, you would see tens of thousands of bots completing the event just for its rewards. However, bot farm owners ran into a slight problem. All of these bots were fresh off Tutorial Island, and a fresh account comes with a few restrictions. The restrictions have changed through the years, but at the time, new accounts couldn't trade items without having at least 18 hours of playtime or 7 quest points. On top of this, dropped items were only visible to the player who dropped them, item stacks and PvP were reduced to 1, and many commonly botted items couldn't be sold on the Grand Exchange. In short, the bots could farm the rewards, but they couldn't actually trade them over to the bot farm's owner. This meant they, in turn, couldn't sell those rewards for GP and sell that GP for real money, until they found a loophole. They discovered that they could use the general store to transfer items over. The bot accounts would go to a general store and sell the crackers to it. From there, the bot farm owner could then buy the crackers from the store, which the store now sold for just 1 GP each. The only downside was that the bot farm owner couldn't buy the item in noted form, so they would need to constantly run back and forth to the bank to make room in their inventory to buy more. But of course, they would automate the buying and banking process as well. Botters would make billions of GP every year this way, but they had no idea that in 2022, Jagex was about to make an update that would soon make this method, and this is not an exaggeration, 60 times more profitable. But a bit of context is needed first. In the late 2000s, long before Old School RuneScape was created, RuneScape had a growing problem with player-run games of chance, or as most players and even Jagex themselves called it, gambling. Crowds would gather in busy areas like the Grand Exchange to take part in all kinds of player-made betting games. The most common one was called dicing, and it worked like this. Let's say you had 100,000 coins you wanted to bet. You'd walk up to a trusted player known as a dicing host, trade them your 100k, and they'd use an item called a dice bag to roll a number between 1 and 100. The number the host rolled would then be automatically posted in the game's chat. Most hosts followed the same rules. If the number was above 55, you won double your money. If it was below 55, they kept your bet. It was simple, exciting, and completely unregulated. The system relied entirely on trust, and with large amounts of gold changing hands, scams were inevitable. Before long, entire clans were built around gambling. Hosts were real-world trading their gold for thousands of dollars, and Jagex found themselves with an in-game casino they never intended to create. They would go on to remove the dice bag from the game entirely, but it wasn't long until more games using different items popped up, like the flower game, where hosts planted a mithril seed, and the color of the flower that spawned decided the winner, or the horse game, where players would guess which phrases would appear above the host's head when they played with a toy horse. Players would gamble with just about any item that could be used to produce a random outcome. They would certainly be using Christmas crackers to gamble with if they weren't already worth billions of gold at the time. By 2013, Jagex had officially banned player-run games of chance from RuneScape, which we now know as RuneScape 3, and removed most of the items used for gambling. gambling. The scene gradually faded away, and when Old School RuneScape launched later that year, Jagex's developers ensured history wouldn't repeat itself. They removed or altered every item that could be used for games of chance before the issue ever resurfaced. But both RuneScape 3 and Old School had one large game of chance left, one that had existed since 2004 and was not player-run: the Duel Arena. It was a massive coliseum in the Caribbean desert where players could challenge each other to one-on-one fights and bet gold or items on the outcome. Players would bet millions or even billions on fights that would be over in less than a minute. Many billionaires were made here, but even more players walked away with nothing. The community surrounding the Duel Arena was enormous. At any hour of the day, you could visit and find hundreds, if not thousands of players looking to duel. Over the years, many called for the arena's removal, but Jagex didn't take action until July of 2022. That month, the Duel Arena was permanently removed from the game and replaced with Het's Oasis in RuneScape 3 and the PvP arena in Old School RuneScape. With the arena gone, players looking for games of chance were quickly running out of ways to gamble in both versions of the game. The removal of the Duel Arena didn't kill the desire, it just scattered it. Gambling would mostly die off in RuneScape 3 after this, but over the following months, a few alternatives would become popular in Old School RuneScape. The first were gambling bots, automated accounts that acted just like the old gambling hosts from the late 2000s. Instead of using in-game items like dice bags or flowers, these bots relied on a random number generator. Players would trade them the gold, the bot would roll a number, and instantly pay out if the player won. At least that's how it was supposed to work. In reality, there was nothing stopping the person running the bot from rigging the odds or making it pay out only when they felt like it. Keep that in mind next time you see one of these bots at the GE, as they're still around today. Deathmatching also became a popular way to gamble. Two players would agree to fight to the death in the wilderness or on a PvP world, staking gold or valuable items on the outcome. In theory, the winner got everything. In practice, many fights ended in scams, disconnects, or one player backing out after losing. Clans would pop up around deathmatching to act as middlemen and enforce rules, but they were far from perfect. Now, none of these methods would compare to what came next. In the days following the Duel Arena's removal, one item in particular caught the attention of gamblers in Old School RuneScape: Christmas crackers. Almost overnight, their price began spiking, as players realized they could be used as a new, unregulated way to gamble. The method was simple. You'd give a gambling host some GP, and they'd use a Christmas cracker on you. As you know, when a cracker is pulled, one player gets a random item, and the other gets a party hat. If you got the hat, you won. If not, you lost your bet. It was essentially RuneScape's new version of dicing. Now, because the odds of getting a party hat from a Christmas cracker were 50-50, hosts needed to take a cut. Let's say a player bet 100 million gold and won. Instead of getting 200 million back, they'd likely get 180 million. That 20 million difference was the host's cut, ensuring that even with perfectly even odds, the house would always come out ahead over time. It also helped cover the cost of the cracker itself. They were the perfect item for the job, as unlike in RuneScape 3, crackers in Old School were still relatively cheap, selling for around 50,000 gold at the time. As this game of chance grew in popularity, it didn't take long for automation to follow. Within days, gambling bots started appearing on nearly every world, running scripts to pull crackers non-stop. But unlike the older gambling bots, these ones couldn't easily cheat the outcome. The cracker's mechanics were built into the game itself. Unless they outright scammed you by taking your gold and logging off, the result was completely random. Like usual, prices for Christmas crackers rose rapidly leading up to December, only to crash right before Christmas when the new batch was about to enter the game. But that Christmas, things were different. More bots than ever before were created to automate the event, pumping record numbers of crackers into the game. Despite so many crackers coming into the game that year, the demand was so high that after Christmas, they would quickly start to climb again. Fast forwarding to the 2023 Christmas event, and prices were steady heading in. Demand was through the roof, and for the first time, there was no pre-event crash at all. Botters were preparing for another massive payday, setting up hundreds of automated accounts ready to farm the rewards. But this time, Jagex was ready. They were fully aware that Christmas crackers were being used for gambling, and made a small but effective change. In order to claim the cracker, along with any other tradable rewards from the event, players needed at least 20 hours of playtime. Only after reaching that milestone could they return and collect their rewards. As a result, far fewer crackers entered the game than botters or gamblers had anticipated, and when the event ended, the sudden lack of supply sent prices skyrocketing. It wasn't long before Reddit and a few content creators caught on to the quickly increasing prices. Posts about it hit the front page of the 2007 Scape subreddit, and videos covering the surge were pulling in tens of thousands of views. Now, even average players were investing in Christmas crackers. Many of them figured crackers have operated the same way since their introduction in 2001, so Jagex won't make changes to such a nostalgic item, and they'll always be in demand because of gambling. So I'll buy a ton and ride the wave up. As months passed, the price would continue climbing. In January of that year, you could purchase a Christmas cracker for 215,000 gold. By mid-April, one would cost you a little over 3 million. The price was climbing so high that it started to cut into gambling host profits. To make up for it, hosts began enforcing minimum bets, not just taking a cut to cover the cost of the cracker itself. For example, you might need to bet at least 50 million gold, or the host simply wouldn't take your bet. As a result, many of the automated gambling bots were priced out and quickly disappeared, leaving human hosts to take over. These players moved their operations out of public spaces, gambling in private locations like clan halls and player-owned houses to avoid bans. The scene was smaller now, but the stakes were higher than ever. But then, in May of 2024, Jagex would make a change that nobody expected. Their solution was simple, but effective. They removed the randomness from Christmas crackers entirely. When you use one on another player, you now pick the color of the party hat you want and the accompanying item, and both players receive the same rewards. In the following days, prices would fall off a cliff, as players, botters, and gamblers alike attempted to offload their massive supplies. It would crash hard from its 3 million GP all-time high, and since then has never recovered. These days, gamblers have moved on to new methods in their never-ending war with Jagex, and crackers sit at a more affordable price of 150,000 gold. It's a bit sad that Jagex had to take the fun out of such an iconic item, but after years of it fueling gambling, it was really the only choice. The cracker may have lost its spark, but RuneScape is probably better off for it. Check out the video on the right about the most damaging bot in RuneScape history. It caused the party hat duplication glitch and so many other problems that I think will surprise you.